So I want to shift gears a little bit uh, because you are also a man of the channel. You're incredibly respected in the industry that we are all in. Um, you come from another respected master agent now a new respected master agent. You've built an incredible brand for yourself in the industry. Um, have you experienced issues of racism in the industry?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know what's I should be laughing about it because it's not funny. But I will tell you I've experienced issues of racism personally. I love shameless plug for Kelly and the creation of Exposure. I think it was long overdue, right? And well needed. I think the work that organization is going to do is going to be huge, and I'm just humbled and grateful to be a part of it. I'll tell you something that's interesting though. You have in mind, and you have that that skinhead Ku Klux Klan racism that's over here, right? I can't tell you that I've experienced any of that type of racism. What I've experienced, what I believe comes from ignorance. And again, I tried to say this on the call the other day. I'm not saying ignorance as in dumb, you're bad. I'm saying ignorance as in you simply don't know the things people say that they just don't know how they're perceived. And I don't want to relate it to racism, but that's to harassment, but that's the easiest way to explain it. Harassment in the workplace is based on how the person receives what you're doing, right? It's not you setting out to harass them, right? I think ignorance because of certain things aren't understood. I will tell you that there was a leader, well respected leader, whom I absolutely love. This stuff went down over the weekend, and everyone was in a rush to say something on Monday, and the person said some pretty good words, but they posted a picture of them with let's say the equivalent of like malnourished African kids, okay, as their way of saying now in their heart and in their mind they were saying, hey, this is bad, I'm doing this. But that's like when people say like I have a black friend and therefore I'm aware of what's going on, or they tout their there are certain things that I think people don't understand, um, because they're not blatant racism. It's a privileged, almost prejudiced mindset that most people don't know because that's the way the world is. So you don't know there's anything wrong with it. You don't know how it's being perceived or received. Um, and so yeah, so there's that. I've had it's kind of, I got to kind of be careful because we're still in this, and I want to be able to share, but certain stories that people are going to know
Yeah,
who
yeah,
they
yeah,
got to
yeah.
figure out how to share without naming people. But I've had I'll give you a quick one. I I was dealing with a supplier, and I'm in a conversation where I'm kind of being, and it's in person. My opinion and what I'm trying to say is kind of be put on hold because it's in disagreement to theirs, and it's three of them there, all Caucasian, and I guess they thought I did not understand. They didn't realize I was disagreeing. I think they thought I did not understand what they were saying. And one of them left the room. So we go out because I'm going to take a tour, right? So we're out on a tour. While we're on the tour, they stopped me at the desk of a black woman and introduced her as just as part of, like, they didn't introduce anyone else while we were on the walk. They introduced her and asked her to explain to me what we had just finished talking about in the conference room, as if she was going to use a language that was different. You understand what I'm saying? So there, it's yeah, there's things.
But that is important. I mean, you point out the difference. My mom's family is from the mountains of Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some racist folks down there, and they don't
Oh
hide it. I grew up realizing that that's horrible, but you can see that coming. that's overt.
Exactly.
That's something that you can just watch out for. It's the subtle things that people don't know they're doing, and that's why I think being able to share your experiences is so important for people, because as white people, we need to hear that, but we can't expect somebody who's already feeling like they're put at a disadvantage to tell us in the moment that what we're doing is wrong, because that's just not realistic to expect of them.
Right.
So it's incredibly meaningful to hear those stories and to share those stories with people, because that feels like a way that we can start at least getting the people who want to be doing the right thing aware of what the right thing looks like in a way that they can consume.
And I also think, to your point, Brandon, and Aaron, you and I talked about this earlier, there is an element of there's not a soul on this planet that would question whether or not I'm racist or not. I have, to your point earlier, some of my dearest friends are Black. I live a good life. I'm cautious of the things that I say. And yet there's this element of, I'm not racist. I don't know what I'm raising my kids to other than by my actions. Mm-hmm. But as you said earlier, we've reached this moment of being silent. So I've been that silent guy that would never consider myself a racist, but I've been silent. And now it's actually been interesting to watch. We ordered maybe a dozen books, child age up to things that Jen and I can read together, because there's this element of, well, I'm not racist, but there is an element of things that I don't know because I've never been in that moment, or in education.
How would you?
Yeah.
But, how good.
But how do you? I'll take the Drew Brees statement for example. When I first heard that, my immediate thought was, well, he didn't say anything wrong. That makes sense to me. And then hearing guys like LeBron James and some other folks come out and give what they're hearing when that is said brings another element. So for us at home, it's picking up books and reading as much as we can to educate ourselves on trying to educate ourselves on the things that we don't know. We don't know what we don't know, and we're trying to learn right now. That, I think, has been the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think it's funny that you mentioned that the Drew Brees thing, the whole kneeling thing in general is a sore spot, because it's a form of racism that people don't even acknowledge, and that is just in my voice being heard, right? Because here's what happens is kneeling during the anthem has nothing to do with disrespecting the flag or the military. The fact that you know that and you still say that, it discounts my opinion. And you can do that if you think I'm lesser, right? So it's not about the military. It's a protest against police brutality, not against America or soldiers or the flag. And the fact that it isn't heard that way is almost worse than the kneeling or the ramifications, because now it means that not only is my protest being ignored, you're intentionally challenging my protest into something that you can get other people to rally around and be upset about. Remember that whole like media extreme thing, So that part of it is really disappointing.